I was born and raised in the city of Birmingham, in England, the second city in the country, and this is home really. At the end of the day, all my life I've spent here. I have had the opportunity to travel around and have had fantastic opportunities to engage, create art in these different places. But really, this is home at the end of the day. This is where I was born and raised. This is where my father chose to stay. This is where my father is buried. So this is all I know really. And in some ways, it's like it's part of who you are. So in some ways, I feel I can't detach from the place. One could say that maybe I could move to all kinds of wonderful cities that I've been able to visit, but I don't think I could. This is somewhere that kind of always pulls me back, and I feel in some ways a little bit of a responsibility as well, because I think this is where I was born, and I feel a bit of a responsibility that I need to give something back to the city that made me feel like that city that was home, and it still is home. So kind of just getting up and just running off, if you like, is not something I feel is the solution. Even if through frustrations of a place where there's problems or whether there's issues, all the more reason for you to stay put and give back something. So yeah, this is somewhere I feel passionate about the area. And it might not be the most inspiring of cities in the world, but I tell you what, at the end of the day, it's still home. So you can't change that really. You can't change where you're from, where you're born, and you owe a lot to it. Sometimes you feel like it's giving me something. How can I just get rid of it now, right? You want to kind of give back to it, because that's more exciting when you see a place. For me, what's more exciting is when you see a place with nothing. And I'm not saying this city has nothing, definitely not. This is a city that prides itself, where you will often hear it's a place that prides itself on its multiculturalism, on its kind of the more different faith that exists in the city. And there's no doubt about it, there's troubled times where there's been perhaps conflict within that. But at the same time, I think overall it's a city that is the different cultures, different faith. Generally, I can say there's, it's a place people can just get along really. There are no issues. There's no area in the city really that I would say I'm fearful or I'd be concerned about going into. You don't have that issue. The center of the city you could go to today, especially, and you would have no worries. Once upon a time, it was different. If you look at the stories and you hear over the decades, going back to the 80s and the 70s and those times, perhaps when there were new migrant communities that were settling here, especially from the South Asian and different communities and the Irish communities, you would hear about struggles, you would hear about racism, you'd hear about gangs, racist gangs even.